So I had to read this chapter a good couple times. Like I usually read the chapter maybe 3, 4 times before I do a review, but I had to go over multiple different translations, and I think I got it. I think I got the heart of the chapter down. I think I do. How's it going, YouTube? I am GLD, Foolish Assassin. Today we're talking about Bleach Chapter 651, the Theater Suicide, Scene 5 or Act 5 or whatever. And this is pretty much kind of like a backstory chapter, just a little bit. But yeah, let's jump right in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the big reveal at the end too. Okay, so this chapter pretty much talks about Nanao's sword, Shunsui's relationship with Nanao's mother, and how the events of the past led up to this point right here. So it turns out that when Shinsui said that Kyokatsu was Nanao's sword, that was kind of a half lie. It turns out that Kyokatsu, or the Kyokatsu half of his Zanpakuto, is used to house Nanao's sword. What happened was, alright, I'm gonna get into the backstory of Nanao's mother and Shinsui and all that, and then that's gonna lead into Kyokatsu holding the sword. Anyway, so Nanao's mother comes from a very religious royal family. They're a family of priestesses, and they pretty much believe in Shintoism, and they believe in the spirits and all this superstition and stuff like that. Now Nanao's mother, but before I get into that, the family had a curse on them, or a lot of the members of the family believe they had a curse on them, that whenever they get married, that the husband dies immediately right after they get married, because the family is a family of all women. So whenever a woman gets pregnant, it's automatically going to be girl. There's no question about that. So that girl has to go out when she's of age and find a husband to marry into that family so that she can have kids. But the curse automatically kills the husband within a few months to maybe a few years or so. They really didn't go into detail with that. I'm assuming it's a few years. And so yeah, that forces the woman to come back into the family. More than likely she's pregnant, or because I'm assuming that's how it works. That's because the curse has to, carry on the lineage of the family. So they come back into the family, they raise the kid along with the family, the kid grows up, and it just pretty much repeats the cycle of the kid growing up, meeting the husband dies, she comes back pregnant, boom, keeps going. Alright, so Nanao's mother, she believed that the curse was ridiculous. And so when she was of age, she went out, she found someone who also found that the curse was probably ridiculous. And that someone she found was Shunsui's older brother. And prior to Nanao's mother stepping into Shunsui's older brother's life, like they had kind of like a rocky relationship, Shunsui and his older brother. But when she stepped in, like there was a peace over their their relationship. Like he found himself able to go over their house more and like relax and take naps on the porch and just be with them. But so she was kind of like that glue to their relationship. So when the curse fulfilled itself with Shunsui's brother, I guess like that kind of left them together, not in like a together sense, but like oh, we both experienced this loss and I guess we have to move through it together. So Nanao's mother ultimately came to the conclusion that it must not be the family itself, it must be the family Zanpakuto. So when she did that, when she found that out, I guess that made her the head of the household, because how else would she get it? Because at the end of the chapter we find out that Zanpakuto is only given to the next head of the household when the first head dies. So I'm assuming that Nanao's mother would be the high priestess, so that would make Nanao the next highest priestess, because now Nanao has the sword. So when she decided that the sword was the link to the curse and it was like the root of it, she decided to ask Kyokatsu to hide the sword. Now there's a little bit of a contradiction with this, because in the beginning of the chapter it says that at the request of your mother, Katen gave birth to Kyokatsu to hide the sword. But at the end it's said that Nanao trusted the sword with Shunsui because Kyokatsu liked to hide things, like to play hide and seek. So that's a little bit like, so was Kyokatsu existing prior to this whole situation with the sword and the family curse, or was Kyokatsu a byproduct of Katzen creating Kyokatsu to hide the sword? Like, there's a little bit of a contradiction between that. From what I've read, like, each chapter pretty much does that same contradiction, so maybe it'll be explained later on, but at the end of the chapter it doesn't seem like we have any more backstory to tell about that. But yeah, so Nanao's mother gives the sword to Shunsui, and Shunsui gives the sword to Kyokatsu to hide, which she does by hiding it within, like, you see her face mask. She like reaches into her face and pulls the sword out, so it's like hidden within the shadow, within the black of her face mask, which is a really cool place to hide it. So yeah, the story with the sword is that it doesn't have a traditional blade like most other Zanpakuto does. Also, the thing with the sword is this: the family only has one Zanpakuto. I think I might have said it. So with that one Zanpakuto is given to the head of the family. The head of the family uses it all the way up until they die, and then they pass it on to the next head of the family. So that would explain why Nanao is so adept with Kido, because she doesn't have a traditional Zanpakuto. She probably, like the blade that a lot of people were saying, like, oh, if Shunsui had her Zanpakuto, then how did she have a blade and these screen caps and these chapters and stuff like that? So it must have just been like a simple blade just for like basic defense use or whatever. But she's so adept in Kido that she rarely has to use that blade because she doesn't have a Zanpakuto of her own until we get to the end of the chapter. So Shunsui entrusts the blade to her because she says that the blade, she doesn't believe in the superstition. She hopes to marry someone who also doesn't believe in the superstition as well, which we saw how that worked out with Shunsui's brother, but that's whatever. All right, so on the outside, while they're talking on the end of the shadow dimension, Lyle, he creates this light ball because he like uses his eye ability like to form like a halo dome, and he like can see over the landscape, and like he looks into his own shadow and he's like, oh, that's where you're hiding, that must be one of your abilities. So he creates like this light ball out of nowhere. I don't know how he did it, and he pretty much casts a light over the whole layout, and he says, well, let's see, can you hide any longer with all the shadows being erased? And so out pops Nanao with the Zanpakuto, and she unwraps it from like this ceremonial cloth or whatever. And then we see it doesn't have a traditional blade. Like, so the purpose of this blade is not to fight off humans. It has no effect on people whatsoever. So if like Nanao tried to use it on like another Shinigami or on a hollow or something, it probably wouldn't work. But it's said to fight off gods. Now I find this to be a plot convenience because Lyle is now a messenger of God, or on a God tier. So it's kind of a plot convenience that her family just so happens to be a family of Shinto priestesses whose main job is to carry out rituals for, I guess, Soul Society and to ward off evil spirits. Even though it says that the family is just used to deal with the gods, I'm assuming it's also evil spirits and demons and stuff like that. That's all I'm assuming. So they say that the sword can use to scatter the body of a god in 8 different directions. And from what I saw on Reddit is, when I was doing like the research for the chapter, someone came up with a really bomb theory that maybe that sword was specifically used to cut off the limbs of the Soul King, which would make sense because why would he just rip off his own arms when we have a sword that specifically says that it can dismember a god within 8 different directions, which I thought was really cool. It'd be nice if that came up like later on when they went to go fight Ijuha. He was like, oh, that's the sword that was used against the Soul King back when they sealed him off, when the Shinigami sealed him off. It would make a lot of sense. But yeah, out pops Nanao from the shadow above Lyle's nose, and then he says, oh, only you come out of my shadow. He was like, so he just only sends his aid but doesn't step out himself. And Shunsui says, with that blade, while they're in the shadow dimension, Shunsui says that with that blade, you'll be more than enough to take down Lyle. And that's pretty much where the chapter ends. So yeah, my thoughts on the chapter is that the sword is a huge plot convenience. It did clear up some things, like, why Nanao was so good at Keto and why she did have that sword back in those screen caps or whatever. But why wasn't this used when Aizen was around, when he was a threat? Because as we see, the sword is pretty much used against gods, and Aizen was said to be on that level of a god, so why wasn't it used on him? It would make more sense for for Shinsu to be like, oh, we have a specific weapon to take out this specific person, like, duh. But yeah, I don't know why that didn't happen. As to Nanao versus Lyle instead of Shunsui versus Lyle, or Shunsui and Nanao versus Lyle, I don't know. Personally, in my mind, even though she is the lieutenant of the new captain commander, I don't think she's at that level where she can just take on Lyle. Not like how Miuri was taking on the left arm of the Soul King, because the left arm is still like a living embodiment of something. So when he gave it cancer, that was something really interesting. And then then the arm just started exploding, and that's something different. And also, he's a captain. We're looking at a lieutenant who's really great at Keto. Maybe throughout the fight she will use Keto, and that will bounce back and forth between them. And I'm still assuming that Lyle may be a little bit injured from when he was fighting Shunsui, but that's just a little bit of a stretch. I doubt it. I believe when he came back and regrew his head and changed into that owl god Xerneas Arceus form thing, that he healed himself or whatever. But yeah, I don't believe that she's at that skill set where she could take him on. Maybe with maybe she got some type of special training from her family to ward off evil spirits and gods and such like that. So maybe she does have some type of experience. I would like to see where this goes. Other than that, it was nice to see that backstory with Shunsui and how I guess Katen Kyosaku came into existence, even though there's a little bit of a contradiction between the beginning and the end of the chapter. Also, we got Shunsui before he had like facial hair and long hair and the woman's kimono. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I thought the chapter was alright. I'm not going to say it left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not going to say that, because it didn't. But it definitely left me a little bit confused with certain points as to how this battle is going to play out next week between Lyle and Nanao, if it does continue or it doesn't skip back to Ichigo versus Askin, or the rest of the guys versus Harold. I think that Nanao would probably pull out another plot convenience, like, oh, whatever god is touched by this sword, he can't use that limb, or it automatically stops the attack of gods or something like that, because the sea has 8 mirrors, so that probably represents the 8 directions that it scatters the god's body into. But yeah, leave your thoughts down below. What did you think of this chapter? Again, I thought it was we did get the reveal of Nanao's Zanpakuto, which I'm starting to believe it might be in Shikai form. Kind of like how Ichigo's sword is permanently in Shikai, I believe that this sword might be permanently in Shikai as well. If not, it doesn't have a Bankai or anything, but if it does, that'd be cool. But yeah, again, leave your thoughts down below. What you think of this chapter? Yeah, what do you want to see from next week? If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. That'd be really cool. Share with all your friends. And yeah, I am Gio, the Foolish Assassin. I will see you guys later.
There's a war going on outside, no place to run and hide. Need to open eyes if you want to stay alive. Can't wait time when you trying to survive. Even when you die, your whole life should be alive. There's a war going on outside, no place to run and hide. Need to open eyes if you want to stay alive. Can't wait time when you trying to survive. Even when you die, your whole life should be alive.